Red Rover, send Joe Grover right over.
No.
A video game something Trover?
No. No.
Is this thing working?
No.
Red Rover, let's watch a viewer take over. Cue the tape.
This is Viewer Takeover. We film every Monday night, and then we bring it to YouTube every Tuesday. At some point. Tuesday. At some point. I don't actually know when on Tuesday. It could be any time. I have no idea. Are you crushing Carlos? I'm crushing you. My name's Bryan Paul from this channel right here, and these guys too. You're right. Dave from Dave Station VR.
That's me.
And Carlos. And that guy on the far right-hand side of the screen. That's AJ from the Underground. PSVR Underground.
What's up, Bryan? What's up, Dave? What's up, Gamecats? It is always a pleasure being here on the #1 alternative vision hat channel. Shout out to
there we go. Are you guys having a good Memorial Day? It's Memorial Day today, if you guys don't know, because you're watching it tomorrow, I assume.
So you could say, did you have a good Memorial Day yesterday?
Yeah, we hope you had a good one.
No, but we don't know the end of it yet. There's no way to answer that truthfully, because I don't know what's going to happen in the next, 5 hours.
But they know what happened, because this is tomorrow.
Oh, did you guys have a good Memorial Day? I hope so.
That's right. Yeah, I don't care about your Memorial Day. I care about their Memorial Day.
Yeah, all right.
Yeah. Guys, this Viewer Takeover, what we like to do here on Viewer Takeover is thank a whole lot of people, mostly you guys, the viewers. That's what we do this for. It's not our show. It's your show down here. And the first person, of course, that we want to thank, Joe Grover, the effing Gamecat, with that awesome, scary, creepy,
disturbing thing I've ever seen.
Yeah.
Very unsettling. I will probably see that vision in my nightmares. Thank you, Joe.
It's accomplished, Joe. We got him.
Yeah.
We got him.
I mean, in all fairness, I do tell people to point the camera at themselves and say, hey, my name is whatever, this is Viewer Takeover. He just took it to an extreme.
He certainly did.
Yeah.
Thanks, Joe.
Joe is the effing man.
If you want to introduce next week's Viewer Takeover, make sure you send your short, sweet, seductive, not so sketchy Viewer Takeover introduction to withoutparole@gmail.com. Keep in mind, keep in mind that is a Gmail account, so keep it short, keep it sexy. Actually, just keep it sexy. We don't fucking care about the rest. But those aren't the only people we want to thank. We also want to thank these people. These people down here are the loyal Patreon supporters, people who went to patreon.com/withoutparole. Games. They're the ones giving us $1 or more every single month. You guys are keeping the channel running, along with all the people who donate and everyone who watches the ads on YouTube. So thank you very much. We really appreciate you in this crazy, crazy fucking time that we're in.
Mm-hmm.
But the Patreon supporters are not the only people we want to thank, are they, AJ?
No, Bryan, Dave, Gamecats. We'd like to thank those that also support us in a different way, and that is changing their YouTube name or Google name to something Gamecat related, something Gamecat adjacent, as you like to say. And make sure when you do it, if you do it, that you don't send your parent conference,
not if,
parent teacher conference using that email. Make sure you just have it as an alt.
That
But first, we have one Gamecat, one very special Gamecat. We want to welcome to the Gamecat Dojo, and that is some fat Gamecat.
I like the dissonance.
Some fat game cat.
Yeah, it really works for me. And I think that during this pandemic, during this isolation, during this time, we're all becoming a little bit fatter game catters.
Oh yes, absolutely.
Right? Be proud of the extra weight you're carrying around, man. You deserve it.
Enjoy it while you can.
When the world crumbles after all this, we'll need it to get us by, because we won't have food to eat and have to rely on our gut.
I'm just going to eat Dave. I'm going to cook him up, fry him up into little pieces, and then freeze the rest.
I thought
you got to make at least part of me into a hot dog. That's my only
What part
request.
do you want me to make into?
I said at least one part of me. Usually they're made of a bunch of different parts. Like, isn't it like the anus and the lips and all that stuff?
You're sounding less tasty by the second, Dave.
I will be vegan by this point.
Yeah, for sure. One of our new segments that we do around here is a clip of the week, and one of our loyal Discord members and community members is known as Elvert, and Elvert has absolutely killed it with his Iron Man VR time trials.
Beautiful. Bullseye. Nice. Well done, Tony.
Guys, I
Did you
fucking
get what
did
you
it.
needed?
Holy shit.
Or are you
Holy
gonna
shit,
go again?
dudes.
Gotten down to 29.58 seconds.
And just for reference, the developer's high score in the game is what, 38?
38 seconds.
38
That was a challenge
He
they
first-
set to be. Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah, he blew it
It's-
out of the water first with 34 seconds. And then he
Right.
comes back with this joint, 29 seconds.
32, and now he's down to 29. So
Right. So
He's
anybody
a
looking for a challenge,
I'll tell
yeah.
you my score. I got like a minute
Take on-
48. I got a full minute and 10 seconds longer than Elbert.
I'm at
So,
39
I'm pretty-
seconds right now.
I'm pretty trash at flying.
I'm at
but it's
7
fun
minutes.
anyway.
7 minutes is my best. Thank you, Albert, for sending along that clip. Hopefully you guys
Awesome gameplay.
hopefully you guys enjoyed that. But we also want to give a shout out to our friend Whiticus the Gamecat. Whiticus and his mom suffer from VHL, which is von Hippel-Lindau, a genetic condition involving, I'm reading this by the way, abnormal growth of blood vessels in up to 10 parts of the body. And he is basically running a fundraiser to help people who suffer from VHL. So we're going to leave that link in the description. If you guys want to help the cause, please consider helping Whiticus, the Gamecat.
Yeah, definitely.
Out.
Because, I've talked to him a little bit about this when we've been playing Saints and Sinners and stuff in party chat. And to be honest, it sounds like having this disease sucks shit. So it would be nice to help out people who have it,
Absolutely.
with this link here.
These kind of things, I'd never heard of it before he mentioned it, and it sucks because things like this absolutely need more awareness. So
Yeah.
all right, you guys. But what we really do here on Viewer Takeover, we listen to your comments. There he is. We listen to your comments. Oh, there.
We turn off the camera, we turn on the camera.
We listen. We check the comments for the hashtag Viewer Takeover, all one word. That's where you can submit your question. Just go to the comment section, write hashtag Viewer Takeover, all one word, and leave your question. We'll search, we'll find it, and maybe it'll show up on the show. Also, you could just join our Discord. Discord link is in the description. You should be there anyway, because that's where the conversation happens 24/7. However,
Ooh, that Discord.
I know it's insane. It's been absolutely, it's been
That's where the
popular.
party's at.
But we have a Viewer Takeover channel over there. So if you want to leave your Viewer Takeover question there, I think that's where we found all of them this week. First question comes to us from Jay Meow on Discord. He writes, hashtag Viewer Takeover like a pro. He says, do you view PSVR2 to be a make it or break it situation for Sony in VR? As successful as PSVR has been by dominating the sales of the VR market, it still has a pretty disappointing attach rate to the PS4. If the attach rate doesn't increase a lot for PlayStation 5 and PlayStation VR 2, do you think Sony will, at least temporarily, exit the VR market?
That's a hard no. I don't think so. I think they're in for the long haul, it seems like. And honestly, when we talk about disappointing attach rates, this is something that is totally unprecedented, right? There are peripherals for every console that ever existed that some people buy and some don't. This thing costs as much as the console itself. It requires you to stick a thing on your face and block out the rest of the world. And it's for some people, it's kind of a hurdle to get into. Right. The initial kind of motion sickness and stuff like that. So you can't just talk about this as if like it's got a low attach rate. Like there are barriers to entry, of course.
Well, and to go along with what you're saying, it's also got a separate library of games for the most part. So it's not just expensive to get into, but most of the games you have aren't just going to automatically work for it. So it's very expensive to get into VR.
It's like a whole new console, essentially.
Exactly.
And the thing is that the attach rate that we have already is, to me, very impressive. I think it's amazing that we've sold this many headsets. Like, I think we heard 5 million a year ago, and they haven't reported new figures. Okay, yeah, they haven't even reported new figures, and I feel like especially during these times, those things aren't even in stock anywhere. They're flying off the shelves. You can't get a PSVR right now. So, I think they're doing great. I don't think that there's any worry of them not being successful at it, because they are the most successful by far. I mean, Oculus is owned by Facebook, and they've barely sold as many headsets as Sony has. Right. So, like, I don't know. Yeah, I think they're doing pretty strongly.
Bryan?
See, I think most of the problem here comes from, or most people's assumption of, man, it's not doing well, Sony's probably going to ditch, is based on the precedent they set with the Vita, right?
Yes,
The,
yes.
the Vita didn't sell terribly well. There were a lot of problems. Again, very expensive because of the proprietary memory cards. But the difference here is that Nintendo has always killed it with handhelds, and they just couldn't compete. Like here's somebody doing it really, really well and just blowing it out of the water, and they just couldn't get their foot in the door because of that.
Yeah, dude. Even when the Wii U was tanking, the DS was doing laps around the Vita.
Absolutely.
Like no problem at all.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
So when you compare, when Sony looks at VR sales, it's not like they're looking at like Vita versus DS. They're looking at PSVR versus Quest or PSVR versus PC VR. Like what is happening there? And in that regard, they're killing it.
So I think the only thing to worry about though is that the Quest is sort of the portable version of, the thing that killed Sony last time. So, it's something to keep an eye on, because if the Quest becomes the more mainstream option, that's going to give them a hard time, I think.
Well, okay. So there's this thing. There's a wonderful man that used to be the head of Sony Interactive Entertainment that goes by the name of Sean Layden, legend, who's still with us. But since he's the former,
rest in peace, Sean.
Since he's the former, he's not with PlayStation anymore, and it breaks my heart because I love the guy so much. And played a huge role along with Shuhei Yoshida. And so many other people, Adam Boyes, in the success of the PlayStation 4. But, he spoke with VentureBeat. When was this? This was actually just last year in February. And he made this amazing point. And he said, quote, "You can't get to 5.0 until you do 1.0. It's just the nature of the thing." And it's straight, simple, forward, to the point. And what he means here is that basically Sony entered the VR market knowing that it's going to take time for it to evolve. We don't even have controllers that are like standardized, all these different things, games that are standardized. So I agree with both of you. Basically, this is not going to be a make or break. This is going to be the next one, and it's going to be really fun to be a part of it, just like how this was, and get to see how the technology as a whole evolves and develops. And see how it changes over the next 10 years is what he said.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, and I mean, the other thing is, like, imagine if Atari was like, "Oh, we've only sold 5 million copies of Pong. We're going to quit." This is the early stages of something. This is the birthplace of a new medium.
Yeah.
Right.
And so it's going to take a minute. It's not going to be overnight. And years is probably what we're looking at for, mainstream adoption, streamlining the platforms, making things,
don't be in a rush.
All this stuff.
Don't be in a rush for it to be mainstream, but be in a rush for it to grow properly and everything and develop properly.
Video games in general took decades to become mainstream. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like that you brought up the Quest in this conversation, Dave, because traditionally the console or the handheld with the most power has never really been the victor when it comes to the console wars, right? In fact, most of the time during the PS2 generation, it was Xbox that had way more power. GameCube killed it in terms of power. PlayStation 2, above and beyond, way far ahead, right? This is the first time I think that power comes into play, and it's important that power comes into play, because they talk about the Quest being only as powerful as a PlayStation 3, and if you try to do VR on PlayStation 3, you're going to run into some serious problems because of having to output dual screens at the same time, dual perspectives. So I think people are going to. I think when you get ahead of that, Sony's been kind of falling behind, letting PC do their thing and waiting for PlayStation 5, waiting for PlayStation VR2. But when that leap happens, that next generational console leap that always happens every 5 to 7 years, it's going to be staggering. And people are going to say, wow, you know what? Quest is fun and it's awesome and it's portable and it's, sleek and designed well. But you need some serious power to play these games and make them look, amazing in VR. And I think that's going to come through very, very soon. And people are going to realize that very quickly.
Plus the exclusives as well. Don't forget, don't sleep on, for me, it's always just, when it comes to PlayStation products, it's always been about the games and the exclusives. Well, I think it's great to share exclusives and stuff, have like limited exclusivity so that more people get to experience these wonderful things. I do think, exclusives will be a big selling factor as well. And I think that Sony of all people knows how to do exclusives.
Oh, absolutely. They've got so many first-party studios right now, and the fact that they've been really, really quiet on what they're doing leads me to believe that there is a lot of VR stuff happening behind the scenes. We just have no idea. So it's gonna be exciting next gen, and next gen is only a few months away, which is crazy.
Crazy.
Yeah.
Right.
I will say real quick, last point on this, don't discount the Quest, because you're saying that when PS5 hits PSVR2, maybe we'll see this huge leap in performance where people will say, obviously, this is the way I should have been playing VR games.
Oh, no. I didn't say that.
It's exciting. Well, no, it just seems like there's like this idea that it's going to pump it up so much to the next level that people will be like, okay, VR is good now. But I think the immersion, people don't realize that the immersion is way more important than the graphical fidelity and anything like that. And currently, as the Quest stands, you can put somebody into it and they'll be like, this is fun. This is VR. They don't care about the power. They're playing Super Hot. They're playing Beat Saber.
They don't care about the power at first, and then they go, "Why don't we have Skyrim? Why don't we have this? Why don't we have that?"
What I'm saying,
and,
this
and,
is why
and the answer is becoming very obvious.
There's going to be split markets. I think this is so. There are going to be hardcore people who want those full-ass games, and there are going to be people who are like, "This is cool. This is fun for parties. I'll just pop it on my head.
Yeah.
I have Beat Saber. What else do I need?" Like, they're going to be separate.
Yeah, people play games on their cell phone too, Dave. Absolutely. There's always going to be that like market that just doesn't give a fuck.
Yeah.
It's gonna be something. It'll be it'll be interesting to see. It's not like PlayStation killed the Game Boy or anything like that. You know what I mean? Or whatever it was at the time. There's always been consoles. There's always been handhelds. So I think there's plenty of room for both to exist.
No,
can we call this the first face-held console instead of a handheld console? It's a face-held console.
I don't like that at all. No,
I don't
no. Can we not do that? No. I just Dave, you mentioned the important thing is immersion and not so much about graphical fidelity. But I think graphical fidelity of next gen is going to remove all that blur that we've been seeing in any low res textures and low res stuff, and that's going to blow the immersion out of the water. So I do think that those two things are not unrelated.
It depends on the type of game. Like virtual reality is a game I really enjoy. Accounting Plus is a game I really enjoy. I don't think about how good the graphics are, how bad the graphics are. It's immersive in a certain way.
You guys are getting a little too much into like personal taste here. Yeah. I mean, you're talking about one person likes graphics, one person likes story.
No. I'm not. I'm saying when developers don't make games for PlayStation VR because it's technically not possible. Like graphics definitely matter.
Right.
We're talking about a whole slew of games that came out on PC VR that developers are either unable to or not willing to convert over to PSVR because of the graphical loss that it'll take. Yeah. It's going to make a huge difference for the amount of games we get and for the immersion factor.
Also, I mean, and what makes Quest so great right now is the ease of use.
Oh, yeah.
There's no, people will complain about wires. People complain about, hand tracking, stuff like that. Those are important things to just be able to pick up and play. And the more you're able to just pick up and play VR, the more people are going to get into it.
Yeah, I don't want anyone thinking I don't like my Quest, man, because my Quest is awesome. I love my Quest. But there's a reason this is PSVR without Parole. I spend all of my time there.
All right, so the second question comes from Lipnox88. What's up, dude, from the Discord? Says, when we start getting PS5 VR games, do you think the PS4 VR titles will quickly feel outdated and in most cases stop playing them? Hashtag viewer takeover, like a pro.
This kind of feels like almost the same topic as we went over a second ago.
Yeah, we went down this road for sure.
Yeah, we kind of been down this road. I don't think that we will feel that they're outdated because, like, do you go back and play a Genesis game and say, wow, they really were behind the times? Like when you're playing Streets of Rage 2, you say, no, this was a classic. I enjoyed it at the time. It created some, it put design choices into the world that are now being followed. Like it created a template for something.
10 years from now, people are going to be like, where's our To the Top remake? We want To the Top remaster. We want Resident Evil 7 remaster. Yeah, I still play before VR, I still played PS1 games, retro games, SNES, all these different things, arcade games and stuff like that. So I'd like to think of it in that same light of you revisit these games and you're just like, wow, I forgot how amazing these were, or you have like this nostalgic tie to them.
Yeah, I think
like Blood and Truth is never going to seem lame. I'm never gonna boot up Blood and Truth and be like, "Wow, this is so outdated. I can't even play this."
There could be
I
little
could
things.
see it happening.
Little things.
I could totally see
Yeah.
it happening.
I don't know. Maybe that's a bad example, but I just think there's a lot
Not
of
the
games
best.
where you don't really approach it that way. It's like it was a fun game. It is a fun game. It's not like the graphics are bad.
Right.
No,
They're just not as good as they could be.
It's more about what it does from a technical level.
Yeah.
Like something like Walking Dead, Saints and Sinners, I feel is going to age a lot better than Blood and Truth.
Well, I think what's going to be the
maybe.
big thing
We'll
that
see.
separates, PS4 games from PS5 games and will make PS4 VR games look outdated or feel outdated are going to be the controls. I think at a certain point, we're going to get those new move controllers, analog sticks. We're going to be very, very comfortable with, just this intuitive movement system that going back is going to be kind of tough for people and be like, oh man, this is like trying to play an N64 game, before first person shooter controls were standardized.
Yeah.
Why am I moving
No, I
a
agree with
reticle
that.
around the screen instead of my viewpoint? Like,
Right.
it's insane, the difference.
The resolution, getting rid of that blur, like you did mention in the last conversation, and then the tracking is going to be the number one thing. Maybe even the wireless. There's no complaints about the comfort level of the PSVR. That is one of the selling points of it: is the price, the comfort, and the games. But yeah, maybe wireless is something we eventually get to, and we're like, man, we don't know. Like, there could be a day where we're like, how did we ever play this with a wire? Because it's just that drastically different.
I think the hope is that people developing games on PlayStation 5 or developers that stick around for the next generation who developed games on PlayStation 4 VR will take the time and update those control schemes for new controllers and patch those things in to kind of get new users in the door for their games and to just kind of bring them up to speed with the rest of the VR games that are coming out. That's
I think if you have the team in place to do it, you kind of have to, because like picture all these people who PS5 drops, they're like, okay, VR is finally a thing, but there's only like 4 new VR games that are made for PS5 specifically.
Right.
Then you go to the back catalog immediately. That's where you start. You hop in and say, what else is here? And so you start playing Resident Evil, you start playing this, you start playing that, and those developers are going to make themselves more money if they just keep stuff updated, I think.
Absolutely. I think so many games completely undersold or completely missed their targeted sales projections on PlayStation VR 1 and PS4. Yeah. I feel awful for so many developers. Like when we hear sales numbers behind the scenes, it breaks my heart. It's just like some amazing, amazing games have.
Yeah, I heard they only sold 5 copies of Preda, and AJ bought 3 of them.
Right. That's what I'm talking about, man. Preda could have been an amazing game that evolved over time. DLC, patches, updates, multiplayer, all of this stuff. And if they sold, even 30,000 copies, that might have been a possibility. But instead it sold 5,000 copies, which is crazy.
Yeah. It also came on the same day as Wipeout, and that's a big no-no.
Yeah, you never come on the same day as Wipeout. Dave, last question?
I got it. Donatello the Scientist Gamecat friend asks us, #viewer takeover. Ooh, I remember this question. I remember thinking it was a really good one.
Yeah, we included it because you responded. Nice.
I think it was very nice. He says, recently been reading studies from the University of Barcelona. The premise is that they use VR into tricking the brain into feeling different emotions or gaining self-esteem. Do you have any memory of a game that has done this, and do you think it could be permanent? Do you think this would be beneficial or not? Anybody want to take the first swing at it?
I'd be happy to. Unless you got something, Brian?
No, please go ahead, AJ.
So I've seen this effect, maybe not directly what he's mentioning with feeling different emotions such as gaining self-esteem, but I have seen VR work firsthand in certain ways, like people being afraid of heights. And then, like I mentioned earlier, to the top, where they felt more comfortable going up ladders. The next thing you knew, they were jumping off the highest platforms in the game. And that translated to real life, where they suddenly got less vertigo after doing tons of repetition. For me personally, I think one of the things that could be the most effective would be simulation. I think when I look at myself and compare myself to a lot of my family and friends, I kind of think I'm a little bit better of a driver than them. And that, I believe, has to do with always playing driving games.
That's because you're a dick, AJ.
No, I think I really think playing a lot of driving video games growing up it gave me a boost in confidence, and having confidence in your ability to drive is like probably my number one like recommendation for driving is being calm. You think about all the situations where they say it's better to be calm instead of be frantic and stuff, and how that gets you out of tight spots. And that has helped me several different times where I've gotten out of car accidents, avoided them, avoided like animals crossing the road, and things like that. So I think driving games, maybe potentially flying games that are more realistic, can eventually have a big boost on driving in real life, or just, and that could be a confidence booster.
You shouldn't avoid Animal Crossing. Stop avoiding Animal Crossing.
So as far as that goes, as far as simulation and like almost what you're talking about is like a level of training, because like that's what it is at the end of the day.
Right.
That's already being leveraged. VR as an enterprise like market is booming because people like the idea of being able to train someone in VR because it's the most embodied, like memorable way to learn something. Like
KFC already does it.
Yeah, KFC already does it. It's like you're there, and so things just make sense because you're in a world. It's not like some dude talking to you on a TV. It's a lot more impactful. The other thing is that they've also done, from the earliest stages of VR, sort of like social experiments, for instance, where like I read about one where a man and a woman are both given a set of movements to do, but they're seeing from the perspective in a VR headset a live feed of the other person. So the man is seeing himself as a woman, the woman is seeing themselves as a man. And they found that afterwards it increased people's empathy. Like in all these situations, they've had a thing where like they put cops in it to picture what it's like being a black kid walking down the street when cops are around, and they gained empathy. Like you understand someone else's experience, so you can feel what it's like to know what that person's life is like, you know? And I think that goes a huge way in terms of easing societal issues and all sorts of stuff. I think the more that we can leverage VR for that purpose of embodying someone else's experience, I think that will be hugely beneficial just to people in general. Like as a society, I think that'll be good.
If created responsibly, if done responsibly, and in moderation, in healthy moderation, absolutely.
You talk about, are the changes permanent? He said, do you think it could be permanent? I think so. Yeah, I think that it's such a form of direct experience compared to anything you could compare it to that I don't think that it's I don't know, it's powerful. It's a very powerful medium for more than just games, man. We're gonna see a lot more of that.
So Bryan and Dave, I do want to dial it back just a little bit though, because he did just ask, do you have any memory of any game that has done this with you? Do you have any experience with anything?
Hold on. He's been reading studies from the University of Barcelona. The premise is that they used VR. They're not playing Resident Evil to trick these people into gaining self-esteem. They came up with a VR experience that is designed for this study, I think. Yeah. So it's not really, he's asking about a game, but I don't think that's what
I'm asking you guys. Do you have a game that has had this effect on you?
Yes. Yes, I have, AJ. In fact,
when I expert on Saber, I feel like my confidence and my self-esteem have risen appreciably.
Yeah. Nice. You guys, I mean, obviously I've got so many phobias that are totally irrational, as phobias are, and I think the biggest one is probably spiders. I've always been scared of spiders, like terrified. Like if there was a spider in my room as a kid, like I wouldn't even be able to sleep. I wouldn't even be able to go in there. Like I would just be petrified, like, just unable to move. And it's gotten only slightly better through life. like I'm functional, at least now. I'm functioning adult, somewhat. And but I'll tell you, when I play Rush of Blood, right, and you get these giant spiders, and there's these fucking eggs everywhere that are or nests everywhere that are just like spawning like hundreds of like little baby spiders, and not to spoil a 3.5-year-old game, but at a certain point they do crawl up into your car and then up onto you, and like I fucking tore that headset off so fast because it felt like the spiders were on me. And I think when you do this kind of immersion or exposure therapy, and you do it enough, suddenly that little spider in your bedroom doesn't seem like a huge deal compared to all of this shit that you've been through in the game.
It is therapy. I mean, like you said, that is a form of therapy. I had an ex-girlfriend who had a lot of trouble flying on planes, right? Mm-hmm. And part of the therapy was to have her sit on an airplane, not even going anywhere, just sit in an airplane, be there. And, that forms this thing where it's like, it's not as scary as I thought it was. it's, I've been through it and I got out through the other side and I'm okay. So yeah, VR I think is super useful for that. Obviously, yeah.
There's a lot of throw yourself into the fire opportunities with VR.
Go into the belly of the beast, just dive into
Yeah, like
fear.
you fear space. How about some giant space spiders jumping at your face?
Whatever. We got everything. We got all the scary shit in there.
Yeah, as basic as To the Top looks, man, like get the sense of scale and the sense of height in that game is really, really effective. You get up to some high points and you look down, you're like, whoa, why did I just do that? And it's and I mean, I don't know. I haven't really tested myself, but heights is another phobia I have. I guess it's more of a rational fear because you could fall and die. But it's I've done a lot of crazy things in VR, and I feel like when I go to a window at the edge of a tall building or something, I don't quite have the same sense of I gotta back away like I used to. But so yeah, I think it's very, very helpful for a lot of reasons.
Yeah, I've gone on my roof a few times. I've gotten higher up on ladders and stuff, and yeah, you gotta.
Ever since you started playing VR, you've started going higher and higher up on ladders.
Yeah, actually, from after To the Top, I used to be terrified. For my job, I'd have to climb up a 15-foot. Yeah, I'd have to climb up a 15-foot ladder, and repair like servers and stuff, and I was basically like, no. Like I won't do it. And then after 6 months of To the Top, I started giving it a shot, and then eventually I started doing it. So it was a mixture of actual stuff in real life and VR. So I can't give all the credit, but yeah, it definitely like the question it gave me some confidence to try it and got more comfortable with it for sure.
Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, that's a good story too. That's pretty relevant. I was just being stupid, and I thought you were casually climbing ladders.
Today, I'm going to go to the 4th run. Tomorrow, I'm going to go to the 5th.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Get one higher.
All right, guys, I think we pretty much beat that topic to death.
Yeah.
So thank you guys very much for hanging out with me for another episode of Viewer Takeover. Everybody watching, make sure you join that Discord, join our Discord. The link's in the description. Help out Whiticus, his cause. That link is also in the description, VHL, if I remember that correctly. Also, I don't know, guys, join our Discord, man. Come hang out. We want to talk to you. I talk to these guys all the time. I'm getting bored.
Oh, the other thing is, people always call you out on this, Brian.
What?
There's merch. Guys, there's merch. If you want a t-shirt, we got t-shirts and stuff. And some of them are designed by the Gamecats. But Brian needs ramen money these days. I know he's, broke as a joke.
Everything's great. Look, if you have ad blockers on, the Teespring link apparently below this video won't work. You can see, actually, you should be able to see the products directly below this video. I totally.
There's the product.
It's my mom. It's my mom. Hi, Mom. Hi. Anyway, guys, thank you so much for hanging out. And if you have a Viewer Takeover question, please submit it in our Discord and the hashtag Viewer Takeover channel, or just leave it in the comments below with the hashtag Viewer Takeover. Also, make sure you hit us up on patreon.com/withoutparole for just $1.
You didn't even give us a fucking chance.
Yeah, I know. I feel like I ask too much of you sometimes.
That's the one thing I'm excited to do every week.
Patreon.com/withoutparole.
Games, I guess.
We're all disappointed now.
All right.
Wagos, not Wagos.
Not as cool this way.
Right. Make sure you subscribe to Dave at Dave Station VR and AJ at PSVR Underground. Thank you, guys. Thank you, cats. This was Viewer Takeover, and we're out. But what we really do here on Viewer Takeover, we listen to your comments. There he is. We listen to your comments.
We turn off the camera. We turn on the camera.
We listen. Okay. Dave's the only one with something to do tonight. I'm like, why? He's the one dicking around.
No, I'm gonna close the window. It's fucking with my lighting. I'll be right back.
Okay. This show requires so much editing.
We've got the outro at least.